Hi, it's Julien, and this is my morning exercise routine. I've put this together over the last couple of years. I do it most days, especially when I'm coming in to adjust. I'm going to run a commentary through this as well, so you can just listen along and do this with me, and I really hope you enjoy. It's 3 parts. Starts on the floor, and then we kind of stand up, and then ends quite dynamic before I normally do my morning meditation. Okay, so I'm going to put my glasses down and we're going to get going. Okay, so here we are. This is my morning exercise routine. First thing I do is start with a child pose. You may have noticed, by the way, that I had some bone conducting headphones on there, which are really nice. I usually have like a yoga type playlist in my head. And just stretching either shoulders. I like to go up onto the fingers there. And then we're moving now into child pose. So I make sure I spread out my hands as wide as possible. And then most of the time I will be doing usually 8 reps. Stuart McGill, who is the exercise guru in this world, says that certainly with this particular exercise you don't get any more movement in the lumbar discs past 8, so there's probably no point in going much past 8. So there we go, and come to the end of that one. There we go, and now, oh no, he's got one more, there we go. Good, and now we're going in straight into McGill 3. So for those of you that know this, so it's the standing the leg up straight, you're concentrating as much as you can on keeping your back straight. I always think as if I had a pint of liquid balanced on my back there, on my lower back kind of belt line, that it would barely move. And something I've added into McGill 3, which is a more advanced movement, then to bend the knee and then actually just do a straight up towards the ceiling as this far. So I'm pushing the sole of my foot straight up, but you really feel this definitely work the glutes. Okay, and then we'll switch to the other side. So this is the right, left if you're looking straight at the screen. Doesn't matter, if you got it wrong, switch around. Over the years I've watched so many of these videos, yoga videos, all the classics, Adrian, Tim, and oh god, there were so many, and kind of taken bits from them and put them together and putting it together, and decided to film it on what is clearly a gorgeously sunny day in Devon. Here we go, so we go into the next part, which is the modified bridge of McGill 3, lifting up the hips kind of up and forwards in the J. Again, sure I did 8 of these. Okay, there we go, stabilising the shoulder there with the hand. Switch over. Interestingly, in the morning, I never can remember which way round I did it the day before, so it just kind of switches around. And there we go there. Okay, moving into the modified sit-ups. We're lying on our backs. My hands will go underneath my small on my back. You can probably my hands are actually just flat here. Sometimes they're crossed but flat. And then we're just lifting head. You should see there's virtually very little movement of my head there. My the back of my hair was still touching the mat there. Done 8 of those and swapped those over. I've gone mostly with 8s or 10s or 20s for most of these exercises, and if I have longer, if it's a weekend or I've got a longer time, then I might take them up maybe to 10s or even 12s. Bridge here, just tuck my heels up so I can touch with my hands. It seems to be the comfortable position, and just lifting up, very much concentrating on that movement of lifting up, breathing in up and breathing out down. Not too fussed about the breathing on this one at this point, but you'll kind of find your natural way. I just tend to hold that, and as I'm holding, I tend to push down with my hands into the mat there. That feels like a nice stretch along the arms there. Okay, So this one is going to look like I'm hardly moving. Yeah, you can see this is called imprint. This is a Pilates exercise, and I'm pushing my lower back into the mat. So you can see I've actually got 2 mats there, or 3 I guess if you take the big pretty mat, and then I've got 2 yoga mats, so it's nice and soft. Yeah. And we're moving now into, I know this is dead bug, kind of makes sense, look like a bug thrashing. And I think I went 16 on the side, but this is opposition. This is effectively the same action as if you were crawling, but this is a nice gentle morning version of this. There are various versions of the crawling exercise which get increasingly hard, but this is, and it's a cross brain activity, so you're using left and right brain. So I counted to 16 there. This one, again, possibly Pilates, possibly a yoga one. So I've arms straight out, and I'm just bringing my knees up to my chest. Very much head is up, and straightening the legs out. Very much wake up the glute muscles, not the glute muscles, sorry, the rectus abdominal muscles, your tummy muscles there, and your transverse abdominis. I definitely feel that in my tummy. Oh, definitely worthy of a rest there. So I'm just stretching my knee up and kind of aiming for, in this case, left armpit, and I'm pushing my bottom leg straight there, and I'm just rolling my ankles, 8 in one direction, 8 in the other. And then we swap over. So definitely you can see I'm pulling that knee up, stretching the other leg out to get a nice stretch, as much or as little as you want. Okay, good. 8 in one direction, and then reverse it and go the other. Feels like a nice. Sometimes you can't really hear on this video, but lots of clicking and clunking. Hip rolls, and as I bring my knees up, definitely my lower back's just coming up a little bit. Modification actually of an exercise using clinic, or a test, should I say, the lumbar stability test. So you should be able to do this very comfortably. You should feel nice. It's a good hip mobilizer, and feels nice. And actually, with your hands in that position, it kind of limits it a little bit to how far out you can go. And I've just found that to be a very comfortable way of doing that. Most of these should feel pretty nice, pretty comfortable. We get a little bit tougher later on. Okay, this is the ultimate knee exercise. So hands behind back, again either flat or crossed or interconnected as you like, and the leg is just lifting up, and you start with whatever number suits you. I know in this video I definitely do 40, I think. 30 never seems quite enough. I did go to 50 for a while and felt that that almost felt a little bit too much, certainly early in the morning, so I've kind of stuck with doing 40s here. I'm keeping my foot nice and straight there, although sometimes I will actually turn my feet out as well, so you see my foot is pointing fairly much, not quite 12 o'clock, but sometimes I will actually turn it all the way out, so kind of more 10 o'clock, and then rotate it through, and you can just feel your way through that. And then in any moment now, we're going to swap to the other side. There we go, and off we go. I'm breathing in as I lift up, and breathing out as I breathe, as the leg goes down. And again, that feels the natural way to do that, although sometimes I will deliberately reverse that and actually just try breathing it the other way. I'm not sure if there is people may have opinions on which is the right and wrong way. I try both and see which feels more comfortable. All of these exercises are just to get the body going, move the joints, get the synovial fluid flowing, and mostly what we're doing here is stimulating the brain and switching things on. And suffice to say that once I've been through this sequence, I usually feel pretty ready to go for most things. So I'll do this certainly before coming in and adjusting all day. So this is a Pilates exercise from the original Pilates book. And I think it's called the crab. Takes a little bit of practice. I'm rolling back and I'm swapping, so I'm in a cross leg position and then flipping my feet. Don't go back too far. Takes a little bit of practice to get this one. I think Joseph Pilates enjoyed doing this one. He liked a lot of these rolling ones, and it feels like fun. I think that was 8 there. Then I move into, this is a Kundalini yoga exercise I picked up somewhere along the line. So hands on shoulders there. Breathe in, turn left. Breathe out, turn right. So in, out, in left, out, right. And I usually do 20 at this kind of pace, a moderate light pace. I'm not pushing it at all at this point. And then the second 20, hopefully you will see a pick up of pace. I've seen this talked about it being a moving meditation. It definitely has meditative. There we go, there's this step up in pace, and so I'm going a bit quicker now. There we go. Okay. Yeah, moving meditation. It's nice. It feels like a definite rotational twist, and definitely working all the discs, or the deep spinal muscles. And yeah, I've always liked that exercise. Next one, again, taken from me, is called chopping wood for obvious reasons. So I'm interlocking my fingers there, and I am chopping wood. There we go. 20 of these. As I've seen it taught, it's literally as if you are chopping your way through the day's problems. That's quite a nice metaphor, isn't it? So hacking your way through the day's problems, and so the path will be clear for you. And then I do 20, and then definitely up the pace. And at this point I would go probably pretty quick. I'm definitely working the shoulders, and a lot of this exercises is all about, for me, being able to stay fit to surf. And then at the end of this, I'll hold it, big deep breath up, and then I'm pulling everything in. So your Kegel exercise is bringing in and tightening everything up. Okay, and after all that, then into a cross-leg position, and just leaning forwards and just feeling into that nice stretch, and just letting slowly creeping forward there, taking more from a yin yoga stretch. This is a nice hip release. Okay, good. And some arm stretches here. So you can't really see there, but I'm on my toes, on the balancing on my toes, and this is eagle arms, taken from yoga. Takes a little bit of practice to get that one. Stretch the arms around, and then we go in the other way. Sometimes one feels tighter than the other, sometimes it doesn't. And by now I'm usually aware that I'm really feeling my feet at this point, but that stretch through the feet, as I've seen it, is a fascial stretch all the way from the soles of your feet all the way up through, so definitely good for avoiding plantar fasciitis. Here I'm just one hand over the back, and then one hand up behind your back, and my fingers just about managed to touch these days. Just get them to touch. There's definitely gone through periods where I couldn't touch. There we go, quick reset of the earphones, and we move into the next one. So this is a downward dog. You can walk the dog if you know what I mean by that, but I'm just going into a downward dog. I don't tend to do upward dog much these days. I definitely didn't include it in this video, and I'm just rolling forward. Feels like a good stretch down the back of the legs, and a workout for the shoulders, 8 of those. And then the next thing I've introduced here, I've been doing this for about a year now, is just straightforward press ups, but more yoga press ups, so keeping the elbows in. This is a real tricep workout, yeah, I've never found these easy, but I can definitely do 10 here. And it's all about form and function. What you won't have heard is my elbows certainly clicking quite loudly on the first ones, and that is the first part. And here for Warrior 1. Now, what's probably important, you can't necessarily on my mat there is definitely a line that runs down the middle, and I'm making sure that my second toe is on the top of the line and the arch of my foot is in the middle. And that the knee is behind the ankle. Second one is then like an arch pose, so as if I was drawing the bow, and then as I'm doing that I'm gripping, and then we go into, I don't know the name of this one actually, but a long line of energy from the hand down to the feet, and then a reverse warrior. And I'm doing these for like 3 breaths each. So in, out 1, in, out 2, in, out 3. and then we straighten the leg, triangle pose. This is from Iyengar, I learned this one. Straight up for the first one. Definitely a balance challenge, by the way, this one, especially with bright sun in my eyes. And then we drop the hand behind the back as a bind, and that feels like a nice shoulder stretch. Okay, come back up, drop into warrior one, and then 5-pointed star, hands coming up together. Concentrate on bringing the hands together. I think I did 6 of these. Go down into a runner's lunge. You need to come up into the back toes of the back, and then lion pose, tongue out, and give your tongue a good stretch as well. A lot of muscles in the tongue, these are a good stretch. Drop that back knee and drop the foot to flat, and we come up into, I think this is called moon pose or crescent moon. Please correct me in the comments. And we drop down into cactus arms, and then I'm bringing my hands behind my back, interlinking them and taking them away from my body as much as possible. It took a long time to be able to do that, to be able to stretch away. And then we release that down, hands down, come back up onto the toes, and then taking the right hand up. I'm sure I read somewhere this is called the ultimate stretch. It's a good fascial stretch for sure. And then we go the other side. So get the toe on the line, get the arch on the other line down there, and I use this mat that's got line on it, just make sure I'm in the right position. It's a useful measure of how flexible I am as well. Arms stretching out, and then we go into archer, so it's like I'm grabbing the bow. In a minute, grab the bow, pull, gripping the fist, and with my both feet I'm gripping the mat, so I'm trying to push my heel and foot together hard actually, so it's a nice solid position. We go forward into that one, and able to look up as much as possible, a bit more on that side as I remember because the sun was on the other side. And then we go reverse warrior. Getting a hand round there to get the bind. There's lots of ways to do it, you don't have to come round, you can just go down the leg. Into triangle, leaning all the way forwards, drop to the ankle and get that nice and straight up there. One side is always harder than the other one for this one, and dropping into the bind. And just 3 breaths in and out. And we come back to warrior one. Oh, we don't go back to warrior one. We skipped one there. We didn't do the stars on the other side. There you go. Anyway, we've gone into runner's lunge there, and we've got the stick the tongue out, and we're going into crescent moon. Into the cactus arms. You can see how one side is different to the other. Definitely a balance challenge. Interlock the hands and actually swap the hands around to the non-dominant way. And my hands are like actually hands coming away from my back as much as possible. Drop back down again. Ultimate stretch. And that's the easier side for me. Back down a nice twisting fascial stretch. Downward dog there, jumping up into Malasana, and I've got my feet deliberately off the mat there just to bring that slight heel lift, makes this easier, and I'm pushing the elbows out and the wrists, and that is usually the end of that section. Here's the Malasana stretch, we go into a squat, and then we're just running up and down the mat. We all know use it or lose it, and I realised actually probably a year or so ago that I was starting to lose the ability to run, so I got back into running. This is one I've taken from my days of martial arts, rolling the hips round and like a hurdler, and then actually just kicking. Trying to kick with the ball of my feet there. And the next one we've got coming up, I think I'm doing 10, some punches, basic punches. And then on the other side, I'll show you another way of doing this, just flip it around and then do grabs and pulls as if you're tugging a rope, pulling it towards you. Okay, and then we're building up to the one that definitely gets my cardio going in the morning to warm up, is actually just jumping. Oh no, we're doing squats, here we go. So I think we're doing 10 squats. Picked this one up from training for skiing, so in my head I'm tucking into a nice Nice wide straight red run. There we go. And then this one definitely to get the cardio going, straight up the mat there, and we're going to do jumps. This took ages. When I first started doing this, I couldn't do it. I'll make it look easy now, easy-ish anyway. I think I went 5 or 6 there. That's hard. And then I'll normally stop there, and at this point, we're doing my surfing pop-ups. Here we go. So for the surfers, and actually just popping up that. I normally do a couple of these. I'm a longboarder, so you can see I'm going for nose right there. Arching up the back, feet are actually off and paddling, and in my head I am definitely riding waves at Saunton here with pop up. And concentrate on the pop up. The secret is to not concentrate on the front leg, it's on the back leg. So get that back leg actually up first. Put in another malasana here, and then once I've done that stretch, I will normally sit down and do a meditation. And that is the morning routine exercise. Good, hope you enjoyed.